Just to make sure it's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call to order the regular city commission meeting for the city of Deerfield Beach on October 5th, 2021, 7 p.m. Please have roll call.
Commissioner Drosky.
Here.
Commissioner Hudak.
Here.
Commissioner Parnas.
Here.
Vice Mayor Preston.
Here.
Mayor Vance.
Here. And we can please have a moment of silence and then our pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we can have approval of the city commission meeting minutes, the regular city commission meeting minutes of September 3rd, 2021, September 13th, 2021, as well as the special city commission meeting minutes of September 13th, 2021.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Parnas, second by Commissioner Drosky. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have acknowledgement of our city board meeting minutes for the Hillsborough Inlet District meeting minutes of August 16th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, approval of our agenda tonight for October 5th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Madam Clerk.
For members of the public wishing to provide comments during tonight's meeting, 3 minutes will be provided. However, 1 additional minute can be granted by Mayor Vance. Anyone connected online via Zoom video must hover the mouse at the bottom of the screen and click the participants tab. On the right, click raise hand. You'll be recognized by your profile name and your audio will be unmuted. For anyone participating via mobile or landline, dial *9 to raise your hand. You'll be recognized by the last 3 digits of your phone number. Please dial *6 to unmute if necessary.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda tonight is a celebration of someone. This is bad news for the city, but it's good news for her. Vicky Langlois is retiring from the city of Deerfield Beach after 30 years of service. And it tells you where child labor laws were back then, that she could actually serve 30 years here, that's even possible, Vicky. But Vicky and her family moved to the city of Deerfield Beach in 1970, and she was the second graduating class from the Deerfield Beach High School. As a matter of fact, Vicky's mom, Patricia, still lives in the same home that Vicky was raised. Vicky started with the city in January 1990 in the city clerk's office and became a full-time employee in November 1990 with support services. In 1993, Vicky was selected as the department secretary for the Department of Public Works and Environmental Services, the second largest department in the city at that time. Only the fire department had more employees. Vicky managed payroll, payables, billings, and numerous assigned tasks for several different divisions within Public Works. In 2015, Vicky became the administrative manager for the Department of Sustainable Management, where she continues to perform all of her administrative duties, at least not for long. Vicky is the department's resident historian and has been known to give new employees a tour of the city, point out dumpsters, and make them feel welcome, because nothing makes an employee feel welcome like pointing out a dumpster. If you ever have a question about Deerfield Beach, just ask Vicky. During her tenure, Vicky has worked with 4 directors and at least 7 city managers and has assisted innumerable residents with their solid waste recycling collection services. If you've been lucky enough to be at the Central City campus to enjoy some cupcakes, breads, or seasonal treats, pumpkin rolls, you all know what a great baker Vicky is. She loves to bring in baked goods for the staff to enjoy, and we certainly enjoy them. Vicky spends will enjoy spending her time, which I'm sure she will spend all of her time with her 4 grandchildren. Now plans to spend even more time, I have no doubt. The city wishes to sincerely thank Vicky for all of her years of public service to the city of Deerfield Beach and its residents, and for her hard work and dedication that you provided to us for 30 years. We wish Vicky the very best in this next exciting chapter of her life. Vicky, on a personal level, you have been fantastic. From the minute I was first elected in the city, even before that, learning about the city, you were always informative, straightforward, and just a wonderful person. You're greatly going to be missed. And while I give this to you as a certificate of recognition, as the mayor, I wish you, and all of us wish you the best. Thank you. Vicky, would you like to say a few words? Absolutely.
Oh, what do you want me to say? Good Lord. Okay, I do have 4 grandchildren, and that's obviously one of them. And the other one's over there with her mom. And I just came back from Jacksonville, where I was with the other 2, so which are basically almost same age, 4, and the other one's just turned 1. So she had her birthday October 1st. So yes, my life is going to be with my grandchildren and my children. And of course, I live with my mom in our original home that she purchased in 1970. So I'm in the process of building a house in Jacksonville. So eventually at some point in time, I'll move up there and we'll hopefully all be together. So, but yes, 30 years with the city, it's been great. I've learned a lot. I hope I've passed on a lot of knowledge to a lot of people. And like I said, hope the city continues on the same path that it's been going and improve. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Our next item is a certificate. In 2020, the FAU Department of Urban and Regional Planning collaborated with the city's Planning and Developmental Services Department to create a study plan. This comprehensive overview and analysis of existing conditions in northwest area of Deerfield Beach. In addition, several recommendations to enhance the area from improving traffic conditions, walkability, and commercial and residential uses are proposed within this plan. This plan will form the basis for city staff to develop initiatives for improvements in this area. At the recent annual conference of the Florida chapter of American Planning Association, the FAU team was awarded the 2021 Student Project of the Year Award for the plan they created for our city. Please join us in recognizing Dr. Merlin, his graduate class for receiving this prestigious award. Dr. Lewis Moreland, are you here tonight?
Dr. Marlin, thank you so much for, again, all the work that you and your students did. It was obviously well worth it. And I'd like to think that my letter of recommendation sealed the deal for you. I had nothing to do with it, but thank you for being here in person tonight. You'd like to make some comments at the microphone, but again, it was a well-deserved award.
Yeah, I did just want to make some brief comments. First of all, I just want to say that, I can't tell if there's a camera on me or not, but
There's lots of them.
the student team was just a fabulous student team. As you want them to, they are now graduated and employed all over the country. Many of them are not local. We have Noah here today, who is still local. It's a pleasure to work with a city that believes in planning. It's a pleasure to work with a city that believes in bold ideas. I appreciate your support, Commissioner Drosky, and all of the commissioners for supporting the students in this effort. And very excited to win this award and to support the city and seeing some of these ideas implemented. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
You might want to say a word.
Absolutely.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Noah Brown. I am recently a master's graduate of Florida Atlantic University with a degree in civil engineering. I would like to thank the City of Deerfield Beach on behalf of the student team and myself, as well as the American Planning Association, for this recognition. It was a delight to go and be able to explore the unique community of the Northwest Deerfield Beach area and get to go and see some of the beautiful parks and natural features that the city has. Constitution Park actually was one of my personal favorites. And it's interesting to go and see the city develop and grow into the future. And I'm glad as a student of Florida Atlantic University that you were able to go and collaborate with us, creating a better built environment for our local community here in South Florida. So thank you very much. And thank you for this recognition.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Eric, he's hired.
Yeah. Mr. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. Anthony Soroka, City Attorney, for the record. Item number 3 on tonight's agenda is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, considering a major site plan from Meyer Family Investments 2 Ltd. to expand the existing retail use, construct additional parking and loading, and associated site improvements for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Center located at 4091 through 4119 North Dixie Highway, application number 20-B3C26, approving a variance to permit a 5-foot landscape buffer in the rear yard in lieu of the minimum 10-foot landscape buffer required by code, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date. And I see the applicant and the applicant's representative here to make a presentation. After you say your name and address for the record, if you could just let us know whether you're going to be waiving quasi or not. And just a reminder for the commission, since there is a variance request for approval, it will require a forfeit vote.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant here? Yes.
Hi, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Christina Belenky. That name is spelled back. I'm here representing the applicant. And I do waive quasi too. So.
Thank you, Ms. Blinky. Before we get started, I know our city clerk has a disclosure she needs to read.
Pursuant to the City of Deerfield Beach Ordinance number 2009-006 Code of Ethics, the following campaign contributions were made on behalf of to Commissioner Hudak on February 2019 in the amount of $1,000, and also to Commissioner Parnas $1,000 in August of 2020.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know who's controlling the slides, but I guess we can just go to the next slide, please. So here, we're here today representing or bringing before you the site plan and variance for the O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's located at 4091 to 4119 North Dixie Highway. And again, if we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So the site here is located on the west side of Dixie Highway. It's highlighted in the green box. It's approximately 1.22 acres. It has a commercial future land use designation, and the zoning designation for the property is an intense business district, a heavy business district. It's currently has a variety of
My apologies. Yeah, I think what we're going to do is let's pause on this technical difficulty we have here. Let's come back and address it after this item. Ms. Blink, if you don't mind speaking up just loud enough for the audience to hear. Appreciate it. Thank you.
problem. I feel like it's out of the way then.
Sure.
So I think where I left off, sorry, the property is developed currently with a commercial structure. I believe it's about 14,000 square feet. There is another auto parts use in there. I believe there's a glass manufacturing business and there's a daycare on the property currently. The existing auto parts store is proposing to remain, and then the rest of the building, it's about almost 10,000 square feet, is being proposed for O'Reilly Auto Parts. So with this application, there's actually two parts. There's a major site plan application. And this property was actually developed around 1978. At that point, it had not been incorporated into the city. It was annexed into the city at a later date. So this is actually the first site plan of record in the city for this property. And then we are requesting a variance as well to allow a minimum 5-foot perimeter buffer in lieu of the 10 feet required, and that's on the rear, and I'll go into more details as we go forward. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide, please. Controller. Thank you. So these are just some existing conditions of the property so that you can see what it looks like today. As you can see, there's very minimal landscaping right now. There you see the preschool, auto parts use, and the glass manufacturer further down. There are about 3 large oak trees on the property right now along North Dixie Highway. We are proposing to keep those. Those are really the only areas of nice landscaping are those trees. The rest we are significantly improving from these current conditions that you see today. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide. Sorry. Oh, it's just all right, thank you. Okay, there we go. Thank you. This is the condition in the rear of the property. Oh, now it went too far. You can see there's the existing daycare use in the rear. There's no screening really back there. There's a wire fence. There's really no buffer from the multifamily residential development located immediately to the west. These are just the elevations. The elevations themselves are not changing much. There's just a door being added for the O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here you see the Charlie's Glass Service. And sorry, we're going through these pretty quickly. I guess there's a little bit of a delay here. But again, the elevations themselves are not changing too much, but the overall property is going to have a significant improvement because of the landscaping that's being added to the site. All right, let's try the next slide, please. Okay, so here are some of the existing conditions. As you can see, I guess towards the northwest, sorry, no, it's the top left-hand side of the screen. It's actually the southwest corner of the site.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. Lynn, Vice Mayor, go right ahead.
I'm getting very little of this presentation. It's it's intermittent, and so I've heard very little of this.
Are you talking about the sound or are you talking about the actual presentation itself?
The sound.
Okay. All right, we're gonna have to, we're having technical difficulties down here. The microphone's not working at the podium. So we're gonna try to have her speak up as much as possible. Maybe staff can assist in a different way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's right.
Let's see if that picks up.
Okay. Oh, maybe. Step back here. If that helps. So towards the southwest corner of the site, there's an existing dumpster that is pretty visible from the right of way. There's actually an access also at the southwest corner from Northeast 8th Street currently, 8th Avenue currently. So That access is going to be closed as part of the site plan improvements here. And then again, there's very little buffer at the northwest, or at the western corner. So that's being significantly improved. Really the reason why we have to come forward and bring the site plan application before you today is because of the change in tenant use. Currently, the daycare use is parked at a rate based on employees, and then I believe there's a factor, a calculation for the number of students attending, but it's very minor in nature. So it's really driven by the number of employees. Any commercial business, any general commercial business would be parked at a 1 per 300 square foot parking rate. And so any commercial business, general business that comes in here would not have enough parking on the site. So O'Reilly is proposing to come in here. They fall under that category. And so they needed to add additional parking to the site in order to make the use work. So they are proposing to add parking to the rear of the site. And again, most other commercial businesses would be required to do that and make those improvements to utilize this space. Personal service uses, they actually have an even more intense parking ratio than what a general business would require. Offices of financial offices, medical offices, they also have a more intense parking ratio. Really the only uses that could go into this site aside from the daycare use are those more heavy kind of manufacturing or warehouse type uses where fewer parking spaces would be required. And if we can go to the next slide, please. And I don't know if you have the box on your screen, it's kind of blocking some of the presentation, unfortunately. But thank you. So here you see the proposed site plan. Again, those parking spaces, there are 8 new parking spaces that are being added to the rear of the site. In order to do that, obviously the parking spaces have to be a certain width, the drive aisles have to be a certain width, and that's all been vetted and reviewed by the various disciplines that review site plans within the city. There are also new retention areas. Currently in the rear, it's mostly just paved concrete. So we're actually adding new retention areas and drainage into the rear of the property to better capture drainage on site. We are proposing to add a 6-foot high concrete wall along the northeast 8th Avenue frontage to provide better screening from the multifamily residential development to the west. There's improved loading areas. So O'Reilly will actually have most of its loading happening overnight in off hours. And they will, have an employee there to meet the loading and to meet loading and unloading needs. And then there's a loading space for, your UPS, your USPS, FedEx, those deliveries as well. So that's so that they can park and not block traffic. And that's a new addition to the site as well. There's also pedestrian connections that are being proposed as a result of this project. So that'll enhance pedestrian safety and again, significant landscape improvements. And so next slide, please. And I guess just to get started while the next slide is coming up, the crux of the variance request is really because of the significant site constraints that are existing on the property. So again, the property is only 1.22 acres. It was developed around 1978. The adjacent right-of-way was platted, I believe, through a plat in 1974. And so dedications were made for the right-of-way at that time. And at that time, the right-of-way was a 50-foot right-of-way. And so, 25 feet were dedicated from each parcel on either side of the right-of-way. Sometime after 2000, it appears, the city adopted street standards in their code, and local roads are now required to be 60 feet wide. So this required an additional 5-foot dedication from my client with this site plan. So with the additional 5 feet, we are unable to meet the 10-foot landscape buffer requirements. Again, as this is an existing site, we can't just move the building, shift the building, take 5 feet from the building. We really have to work within the site constraints that exist today, which is the reason for the hardship. And again, as I previously noted, really any commercial type use, any general business use that comes in here would face the same difficulties. So whether it's, personal services, general business, general retail, they would all have the same issues here and have to accommodate the parking and the buffers and meet the new code requirements that were not in effect in 1978 when this property was initially developed under Broward County ordinances. So trying to fit all of those site constraints, trying to ensure that this stays a commercially viable shopping center really requires that we have a variance to allow a smaller buffer in the rear. And with the 5-foot dedication of the right-of-way, that's actually, for the most part, going to remain green space. The pavement for the drive aisles for Northeast 8th Avenue are established, and I don't believe there's any imminent plans to expand that right-of-way at this point in time, or the roadway itself. So for all intents and purposes, it will appear as if it's still a 10-foot buffer. Now, as you can see, there's the 5-foot right-of-way dedication on the west side, and then we're going to have 5 feet of landscaping and then the concrete wall. So the landscaping will actually be on the west side of the property line, or sorry, the west side of the wall, so that the adjacent residential community can see an attractive green screen with shrubs and trees and not just be staring at a concrete wall. And again, this is a significant improvement from the lack of landscaping, the complete lack of landscaping that they have today. So again, just with the existing site constraints and the site limitations, my client has really worked hard and tirelessly with city staff to figure out a solution to make this work. And they've gone back to the drawing board, I think 4 or 5 times, and presented different options. And really, this is the only thing that makes the site viable. Again, we're trying to ensure that the commercial space can be used, that the property remains viable, and just about any use, any commercial use or office use that would go in there would face the same problems. And if we could just go to the next slide, please, and I'll wrap up here. The next slide is just to show you kind of the significant landscaping again. It goes more towards the site plan, but so that you have a full picture of what's going to be going on throughout the property, the significant improvements. Again, there's new trees and a new hedge on the rear side, the west side of the property. There's also significant landscaping that's going to be going on throughout the site, along all the perimeters, and certainly along the North Dixie Highway corridor as well. So it should really enhance the appearance of this community. And with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Commission, any comments before I open to the public? Okay, is there anyone from the public who care to comment? Is anyone written in now? Okay. Gwen Clark Reed.
Gwen Clark Reed, 1430 Southwest 6th Way, Deerfield. I heard the young lady in the presentation say something about deliveries being in the night. Did I hear correctly?
Okay, we'll get clarification for you. Are there going to be deliveries tonight? Is that what you said now?
So for O'Reilly specifically, they do accept most of their deliveries overnight. And they will be taking place in the front of the building though, along Dixie Highway within that front parking area. So not adjacent to any of the residential areas in the rear.
Thank you. Sri, do you have any other further questions? Okay. Not seeing any other questions or comments, and we're going to close it to the public. Commissioner Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. One question for staff. Mr. Power, you don't have to take the microphone. I'll just, has the applicant met all staff requirements? Just thumbs up.
I think I have to verbally respond for the record there. Power Director, Planning Public Services. Yes, the applicant met all requirements.
Okay, thank you. It wasn't announced at the beginning of the presentation, but I want to disclose it anyway, that it's in the backup. But I did receive a campaign contribution from the applicant's attorney's firm in my 2017 campaign. My third comment is with respect to the variance. I think Ms. Belinkie laid it out well. The hardship for the property, that this was first developed in 1978 and came into the city as part of the annexed area with the roadway dedication in 2000. And then the redevelopment of this, if you were to build it according to the 1978 code, it wouldn't work. So the new code requirements were not effective in 1978. I don't think that's their fault. I don't think the roadway dedication was their fault. I think that is a hardship that goes to the property and not to the applicant itself. So I would be in favor of this.
Thank you, Commissioner Hudak.
I do want to say that, we have been looking for businesses to grow along Dixie Highway. So I'm very, very pleased to hear that O'Reilly's is looking to expand their property. And I am also in favor of this. I think it's going to be great for the community and hopefully it'll spur on some other businesses moving into the area. Thank you.
Thank you. But this hardship is not something that is fault of the applicant. This is a situation in which they're cutting corners in order to increase profits. This is simply taking a parcel of land that was part of the unincorporated area that we brought in and dealing with the antiquated layout that superseded or preceded our new current rules. It's certainly not their fault, so I'm certainly supportive of this, granting this variance. Commissioner Parnas.
Yes. Here's a company that's expanding their business. And they've been here a long, long time. I fully support their expansion. It means more employees to the city, it means more business for them, which helps our tax base. And they're being very considerate to the neighbors that are residential by building a wall and landscaping to a point where they will not be disturbed. They're making every effort to fit in without disturbing the residential area around it, and I will support it.
Okay. We're looking for a motion that I would imagine.
Motion to approve.
We have a
Second.
motion from Commissioner Parnas. We have a second by Commissioner Hudak. We have roll call.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Preston,
Yes,
Mayor Gantz.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we take a 2-minute break to have IT come up, see if we can fix this microphone so we don't have this issue? It is 7:35. Let's come back at 7:37. See if we can get this to work. Vice Mayor, did you hear that last part any better?
yes,
A little better?
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
This is odd, it's jittery. You got extra hemlock. Yeah, it's broken. I mean, this the power's on here. Like, Dave, you want to try it now?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's now 7:37. We'll go ahead and resume. I think we have our issues resolved. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. We are now on item number 4, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 98 Land Development Regulations, Article 10, Historic Preservation of the City Land Development Code, providing for codification, severability, conflicts, and an effective date. This is second reading.
Yes, Vice Mayor. Staff, is there any comments on this? I know this is second reading. Any other further comments?
No further comments on this item, Mayor.
Okay, is there anyone from the public who care to comment on this item? No one's written in that clerk. Okay, I'll close it to the public. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Parnas, second by Commissioner Hudak. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
We're now at the public comment portion of tonight's agenda. Persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address and may speak for 3 minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute by the mayor. As a reminder, this is the part of the public comment portion of tonight's meeting for items that are not on the agenda. If you have public comment on items on the agenda, the time to make that comment is after the agenda item is read into the record and the public comment portion for that agenda item is opened up. And no comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibility shall be used.
Is there anyone who's written in that clerk? Okay, is there anyone in the chambers? No? Is anyone online? Okay, I'm going to close it to the public.
Okay, we are now on item number 5. It's a consent board appointment. There's one item here. I'm going to read into the record. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, reappointing Jonathan Campbell to the Board of Trustees, the Municipal Firefighters Pension Trust Fund, and providing for an effective date.
Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? Commission, any comments? I'm going to close it to the public. I see any comments from the commission. We need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Parnas, second by Vice Mayor Preston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
We are now on consent agreements and expenditure requests. Items 6 through 11 are currently on consent.
Is there any polls from the commission to discuss any items on here 6 through 11? Not seeing any. Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on any items, either 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11? Has anyone written in, Madam Clerk? Okay. Anyone online? Anyone in the audience? Yes, Ms. Clark, read which item would you like to hold and discuss? Ms. Clark, read which item?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mayor. The discussion on the Tigner Center, I don't have an agenda. I know it's on the agenda. I just want.
Is that the one you'd like to speak on, item number 12?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's not part of the consent, so this would be, that's okay. It's items 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11.
All right, thank you.
No problem, thank you. Not seeing any, I'm going to close it to the public commission. This could all be agreed upon with a roll call vote and with a simple
All
motion.
right, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Parnas, second by Commissioner Hudak. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Preston,
Yes.
Mayor Yates.
Yes, thank you very much.
Item number 12 is update regarding the Tigner Center workshop.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commission. This is Manager David Santucci. This evening, we have a presentation on the update for the Johnny Tigner Center located at Rita McKeithen Recreational Complex. At the last time this was brought before the commission, the City Commission asked us to evaluate further some of the suggestions to expand the facility to provide for additional banquet space. Staff did just that. We held another public meeting and it was fairly well attended. Additionally, we had some questions regarding, there was some discussion regarding some facilities of our neighboring municipalities and how large they are, the capacity that they hold, and what some of the uses in those facilities are and frequency of usage and those sorts of questions. So we have a presentation for you tonight. Ms. Priscilla Sejelnik, our Director of Environmental Services, as well as our design build team are here. So they have an updated presentation for you for your consideration. At the conclusion of the presentation, it would be the request of staff and myself that we get some direction on the City Commission of whether or not they would like to entertain the City Commission bringing forward a change order or not to effectuate any changes to the scope of work to add the additional space. So the request tonight would just be the motion to bring that forward. The official action would be the city staff bringing forward a change order. And with that, I'll hand it over to the Director of Environmental Services.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Priscilla Sejelnik, Director of Environmental Services. So tonight we are joined here by the design build team. Some of this presentation you might have seen already, but we did want to give you a briefing of the workshops that were conducted. We held a workshop in June. We held another one at the end of August. And tonight we're coming back with the results of those workshops for consensus tonight from the commission on how to proceed forward. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to the design builder to conduct the presentation and we will have questions and answers afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mike Boss, MBR Construction, general contractor. Next slide, please. There we are. We're here to submit to you folks again for the Johnny Tigner Center. Our design team with MBR Construction. You see on the slide, my civil is Thompson Associates. Landscape architecture is Annie from Calvin Giordano. We have Delta G doing MEPs, Saad El Haj doing structural engineering. Of course, Walter Zachariah doing heading up the design element. I'll let Boss talk about the building. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mayor, thank you for having us again today. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, your name is for the record?
Boss Zachariah with WGA Architects.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the existing site conditions. We have two buildings currently, a community center about 6,700 square feet and a gymnasium building of about 11,000 square feet. There are existing 175 parking spaces on site. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the proposed site plan. The gymnasium is existing, we're redoing the parking lot, constructing a new community center building, 2 stories. And currently it's over 20,000 square feet, tilt wall construction. You can see as far as the massing of the building there with plazas in the front and the side and rear. We have 168 parking spaces provided, and we only need 117 as per the code. Next slide, please. This was the building program that was provided to us as far as what the building required as far as the program. So we had a mirrored studio room, camp program space, computer lab, meeting spaces, administration offices, banquet room, warming kitchen, DJ room, DJ equipment storage, lighting room, lounge TV room, staff offices, multi-purpose room. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of the potential programs that would come in the building, after school programs, summer camp programs, the different socials, fencing, game night, jiu-jitsu, kids clubs, science activities, walking club, winter break, gaming, computer classes, and Halloween festivities, just to name a few. And potentially, the building can be rented out for weddings and other functions to the public. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the first floor plan that you're looking at. You have a covered arcade and the main entrance that leads to the lobby. To the right side, you have administration offices with a reception window, and that's basically the gatekeeper for the building. There are some offices, and then as you go straight through, there's the multi-purpose room and banquet hall. Off to the left, you have the meeting space, computer lab, the restrooms, and then a warming kitchen and some of the support spaces. Next slide, please. This is the second floor. You can take the elevator in the center of the building or the 2 stairs on the 2 ends. As you come up, you have staff offices, the mirror studio room, TV lounge room, some classroom spaces, and then you have a camp program and multi-purpose room. Both of those are subdividable, so you have a lot of flexibility between the space layout. There's also, within the corridor space, there's seating and hangout areas for people as they're waiting for their classes, either before or after to gather. Next slide, please. Okay, so this was a design build submittal. So we had looked at the design build criteria, developed a response to that. And then after we were selected, we were encouraged to look at the Pioneer Grove design standards and incorporate more of those standards into the project detailing. So we have done that. Next slide, please. Okay, so you have on top, or I'm sorry, on the left side, you have the existing community centers that the city already has, and we had used that as the inspiration for the original design that we had submitted as part of the RFP process. Next slide, please. Here's some of the inspiration as far as Pioneer Grove standards with materials, a lot of brick, metals, woods. And so what we did was we took the original design and applied some of those elements to the design as far as the entry canopy, the facade, and those treatments. The interior layout remained virtually the same. It was mostly an exterior application of these standards. Next slide, please. Okay, so what you have is you have the original design on top, and you have a comparison of the Pioneer Grove design on the bottom. We had steel columns, 2-story in the front, and to meet the Pioneer Grove standards, we dropped those down to 1-story with a larger canopy with wood detailing, metal, and as well as brick incorporated into the facade. And on the right side, you have the rear elevation comparing the two designs. Next slide, please. This is again comparing the original design on top versus the Pioneer Grove design on the bottom. You have canopies that were part of the original design. They are still here that tie the two buildings together. So you can go from the community center to the gymnasium without getting wet. And you have a larger entry canopy that allows for people to stand under shade, under cover, or rain, and to be dropped off and picked up from the plaza area. Next slide, please. Just additional views, same thing, original design on top, Pioneer Grove design on the bottom. Next slide, please. These are some of the interviews. As I mentioned earlier, the design of the interior didn't change between the two schemes. It was a facade treatment. So on the left-hand side, you have the main lobby. This would be the focal point. This is where you enter the building. And then you have the main office window and counter that are on the right side. And that's where you have someone on staff. As kids are dropped off, they can come in, check in, and then that way someone knows where everyone is in the building at all times. Also on the right-hand side, you have views of the banquet room and the banquet facility. Next slide, please. Okay, so this plan, it's a site plan showing the service items for the building as well as the main entrance. So you have the main entrance from the center plaza, and then all the services, the dumpster generator, catering, all of those happen on the left side of the site plan, away from the main entrance, away from the public, and so we made sure that the two don't intersect. Next slide, please. Some of the main features, first floor lobby provides gathering space, also a point of security. It allows for entrance into the meeting rooms and the banquet room. You have the outside covered plaza in the front, as well as you have a bonus event space in the back, a terrace that opens directly from the banquet space. All functions are accessible from the main lobby. The second floor has two lobbies upstairs with casual waiting areas and hangout spaces with interior windows throughout for daylighting as well as monitoring and security. There's staff offices on the first floor and the second floor, again, for safety and security. And the site is laid out where we have efficient entry and exit to the neighborhood and public. Next slide, please. We've had a couple of different public meetings, public forums for this project. We had the first one on June 29th in the gymnasium on site. And one of the major items that came up during that meeting was that the public members that were there at that meeting felt that the banquet hall should be a larger space. We have 208 to 224 people, depending on the type of layouts and such. And they felt that, really for the city and future growth, they felt it should be more 300, maybe 350 people. So that was a major element. There were some other comments about the equipment and the catering kitchen and such, but that was the major element here. And so that came to this commission as a follow-up, and due to the lack of participation, the idea was do a secondary meeting, get more feedback, and see if that's really a broad consensus for that idea. Next slide, please. So after that first meeting, and you've seen this previous commission presentation where we expanded the building and added 12 feet to the building, which added about 1,000 square feet. The cost for that addition on the first floor was $450,000. This allows us to put up to 350 seating capacity within the banquet hall. Next slide, please. When we expand the first floor, the way this building is framed, that exterior wall is a bearing wall. And so if we were to only expand the first floor, we would have to bring down columns within that space, which would kind of defeat the purpose of expanding that space and would really limit the usage of that banquet facility. So our recommendation, if we're going to expand the first floor, that we should add extra space to the multipurpose room and the camp program room on the second floor. And again, it's the same thing where we're adding 12 feet to the second floor at a cost of $450,000. Next slide, please. So here we're back to the first floor. We felt that if we're going to add space to the banquet hall, it was prudent to add space for storage for the extra tables and chairs, as well as extra space for the catering kitchen for that expanded banquet facility. So we were proposing to grow the warming kitchen and the storage area by 364 square feet at a cost of $163,000. So the total cost for the expanded building footprint would be $1,063,000. Next slide, please. This is an analysis we have done with city staff as far as looking at the additional annual cost, the electricity cost as far as maintenance costs. So for the extra square footage, it adds about $6,600 a year for additional building costs. Next slide, please. This is the designs and construction schedule. So we are waiting for a go-ahead from the commission as far as, which direction you want to go, if you want to expand the building or stay with the original footprint. And if we do expand the building, we need additional days for design and construction. So the 660 days plus the 90 days would start from whenever we get direction from this commission as to which direction you want to go. Next slide, please.
And I did want to share what the projected budget has been for this project. Enumerated here are various expense accounts. You'll see the construction account, the last one, 6112 construction. We had estimated approximately 9.6 million for the construction cost of this project. It came in just under at 9.1, which means we have available funds of about $480,000 out of that construction account. In addition to that, we have some various other administrative expense accounts. Now, we will have administrative costs during the course of construction. This will be for construction project administration. There might be some balance left to that $490,000. I estimate our administrative expenses probably be approximately half of that. So there may be some available funding from administrative expenses. Our testing expense at $100,000 we're likely to come in under on that as well. We've already expended our architecture and engineering. This was for our design criteria package, so that's been expended and used. And we still have relocation expenses ahead of us for the programming at Parks and Recreation, relocation of the programs and staff during the construction phase. So we do have some expenses ahead of us still that will be coming from these accounts. However, currently we have approximately $1.2 million available that had been earmarked for the project.
Next slide, please.
Before we move on, I see Vice Mayor Preston has a question. Vice Mayor, do you have a question before we move on from any one of these slides?
No, after the presentation is over, I have some comments.
Okay. Commissioner Barnes, you want on the end also?
I just have one question. What is the capacity of seating in the gym now? We've had many events in the gym.
It's 11,000 square feet. I believe it's in the 300, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm not sure the exact number.
Okay, so what we're saying is that now we have 350 availability in the meeting room or the banquet room.
Right.
Which would equal or surpass the gym.
Right. The difference would be the usage. So if you're having a wedding or a formal function or something like that, most people wouldn't want to rent out a gymnasium for that purpose. So you would certainly rent out the banquet hall.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we had a second public meeting after the commission direction. And in that meeting, we had substantially more public attendance. We had 18 people in person, and we had 19 people via Zoom. Majority of the residents spoke in favor of the expanded banquet facility. They felt that now is the time to do it. The city is growing, and really, once we make this decision, there's really no going back. So that was some of the items that they talked about, how they go to other cities to rent out facilities for their use, and it would be nicer if they can do that within the city of Deerfield Beach. Next slide, please. One of the facilities that the public mentioned that they go and rent on a regular basis was the Pat Larkins Community Center. We had talked to the Pompano Beach Parks and Rec staff, and so did the city. Here's some of the statistics that they mentioned. There are 275 rentals per year. 15 to 30 person small events are a majority, 200 to 280. And then you have 60 large events per year that exceed 300 to 350 capacity. So, and when I spoke with the Parks and Rec director at Pompano Beach, he mentioned at the Emma Lou Olson Center, they have about 60 large events there as well. So you have at least one event per week being held of a large scale, 300 to 350 people in the city of Pompano Beach on a weekly basis. Next slide, please. Thank you for your time. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Field, any other comments?
No, at this point, we'd just like to respond to your questions, or any questions.
Excellent. Vice Mayor Preston.
First of all, Mr. Jilnick, thank you for the presentation, and give us a chance to really look at this design again. And in regard to the overall layout of this, it's very impressive. And the expansion of the banquet room, I think would be a good thing for the city. We've heard from many people in the community from all different districts that is in favor of this. There's another side, and that side is that something of this stature, something this big, we only get one shot at it. And 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the city It's not going to be any smaller. It's going to be larger in nature. And when there is large events in the city, if there is an increase in the banquet capacity size, we will be able to facilitate, whatever those venues are. And so hopefully the commission will see the importance of this going forward as a growing city, and the fact that its residents are in favor of it from all different districts. I think also we have to keep in mind that there is an additional cost. But the question would be, what would be the cost overall if we miss this opportunity?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm a little disappointed because I've been requesting the information about Pompano for a while now, and I just saw it for the first time, 5 minutes ago. So it's kind of hard to prepare on the fly when you're talking about $1 million. I attended all of the workshops on this, and I heard the public comment firsthand. And the workshops were attended, but they were lightly attended, in my opinion. And the public sentiment at the workshops was kind of, if you build it, they will come mentality. There was very few concrete examples of specific events that the expanded Tigner Center would accommodate. And I'm fully in favor of the center as it is. It's truly needed. Tigner Center needs a massive rebuild, and we're on the right course. But what I'm speaking about tonight is just with respect to the expansion of the project, not the project itself. So please don't confuse my comments tonight with respect to supporting the project as it was first envisioned. But as far as the expansion goes, I have it in my backup here. I don't know if it was part of tonight or not. I was doing some math earlier, so maybe I missed it. But there's a slide that was provided us by staff, which has the extra costs, which are very minimal, that would be associated with an expanded building, which talks about the additional electricity and maintenance costs. I'm not worried about that. But the second half of that slide says city records show only 2 300+ sized events have been scheduled within the city facilities during the past year. City staff anticipates approximately 2 300+ person events per year would be scheduled in the enlarged banquet hall. So we're talking about an addition of $450,000 for the first floor, $450,000 for the second floor, and $163,000 for the warming kitchen, the expanded warming kitchen, for a total of $1,063,000. So we owe a responsibility, a fiscal responsibility, to all of the residents of the city, and to pay over $1 million for 2 events that's anticipated per year is fiscal insanity, in my opinion. I'd asked for the Pompano information to find out, because a lot of the residents at these meetings were saying, everybody's going to Pompano, everybody's going to Pompano for their events. Well, if we looked at the brief data that we were given tonight, the majority of the events on the slide said are being attended by Pompano residents, not Deerfield Beach. So it's not like an influx of Deerfield Beach is going to Pompano that would then come back to Deerfield Beach if we were to build the expanded center. And I don't see where, staff from any department has presented us with a list of different organizations that are requesting to hold events that would accommodate 300 to 350 people. So I don't see the data. That's what this is about. We need to justify to the residents, if we're going to spend $1 million more of their tax money, where's the data to support spending that kind of money for an expanded project? And it just doesn't exist. I don't know how I can justify that sitting up here to the city as a whole for one project, when you just have this, if you build it, they will come mentality, because they may not come. There are other centers out there, and this is not the only development that is going up. So we may not get that expanded business. Pompano will still have the Larkin Center Fort Lauderdale, their convention center is going to be a brand new facility that they're building as well. And there's facilities in other cities around us. So to say that they're going to come to Deerfield Beach without any concrete proof of what those organizations or what those events would be, I'm not necessarily buying it. I do get the argument that this is the best opportunity to do it now as we're building it. But to spend $1 million on something that may not come for 2 events per year just doesn't make. I don't see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Arnaz.
Well, the Pompano information says a majority. Well, if both of those places get 60 apiece, a majority could be one more than not. We don't have any figures on that. So to assume that they will stay there isn't true. I attend many events at the gym. And I'm embarrassed that here in Deerfield Beach, we have an event in the old West Side Park, Makita Park, now, that we're relegated to a gym instead of a beautiful place. We're going to build it. Let's think progressively. We're expanding. That neighborhood is expanding. We just put in 185 apartments in that neighborhood. If 2 people are in an apartment, do the math. We're a growing city. I'm tired of some of our citizens getting relegated to a gym to have their annual event. If we're going to build it, let's do it. Let's think, what would it cost us 5 years from now to expand it? To bring it up to where we could bring it up to now. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's do it with respect to the people who use it and will use it. And perhaps use it more. I don't know who's done a study, but how many of our organizations book rooms outside Deerfield Beach? Because all we have to accommodate that size in a Deerfield Beach building is a gymnasium, not a banquet hall, not a meeting room, but a gym. Its floor has to be covered so we don't ruin the basketball court. That, to me, is not a good impression for Deerfield Beach. We spend an enormous amount of money on a July 4th celebration, so we attract 90,000 people. We have no guarantee if the next year we're going to get 3 people or 120, but we still hire the entertainers, hire the fireworks, hire the extra police in anticipation that it's going to be a joyous celebration. I will vote for the expansion because I think it's smart business to think ahead instead of doing patchwork.